Hey guys, welcome back to Cosmic Life Astrology. Today I'm talking about the week of April 15th through the 22nd. So grab a cup of coffee like me or whatever you prefer and sit back and relax because we have a lot to talk about. I hope you're all recovering from eclipse week last week. We have a very potent energy coming in for this week. I don't know if all of you felt some of the major energy that happened last week, but to have an eclipse with Mercury conjunct Saturn and then Mars conjunct Saturn and then Mercury cazimi, those are some pretty strong energies. And, you know, I did see in the news some unfortunate things that happened that correspond with some of the negative potentials of those energies. For example, on the day of the eclipse, there was an astrologer who was involved in a murder-suicide. I don't know if any of you know who I'm talking about. I personally never heard of her before. And I'm bringing up this for a general message that, you know, when you're watching astrology and you're diving into learning more about astrology, always keep in mind that the planets have dualistic natures. You know, they all have their good side and their bad side. And depending on how they're lining up with your chart or what they're conjuncting or, you know, connecting with in some way in the cosmos can lead to different potentials. And we always should take the approach of to be forewarned is to be forearmed. You know, I always say hope for the best and be prepared for the worst, right? So if you know that an alignment is coming up that could bring some challenge or, you know, something that's not very pleasant into your life, I wouldn't take it so heavily as like, oh my God, I'm doomed. Instead, take it as a potential, but also look at the potential easier outcome that could happen. And with malefic planets involved, obviously, you know, there's more potential for challenges than not. But, you know, when it came to a solar eclipse conjunct Chiron, for me personally, and I think a lot of astrologers also took the same approach, you know, that's a significant possibility for healing throughout the world, you know, and we very much are in need of that. This astrologer that I'm talking about looked at the solar eclipse as the basically an apocalypse coming. And no other astrologer has taken that approach that I've seen because of Chiron being a healer. And so it's very unfortunate to see something like that happen in the community, and to see anyone get into such a fear mindset when, you know, studying astrology, that they take drastic measures. So please don't do that to yourself. If you're not in a clear space, step away from it until you are and can take an unbiased approach to astrology and to learning, you know, what the energies can bring, because that's the healthiest way to approach astrology. That is the reason why I did not make my YouTube channel sooner. After many years of being told to do one, I was going through some major life changes and knew I wasn't able to take an unbiased approach to speaking about astrology to the masses. I did speak about it to many people, and did many readings, but to have a channel to consistently talk about it on a platform like this, I knew it wasn't time for that, and waited until I was in a better time of my life to actually speak to a community about this. So I digress. I also found it interesting that on the day Mercury cazimied, we saw O.J. Simpson pass away. He was a solar figure. Everybody knew who he was, and I'm not going to get into why everybody knew who he was, but it was interesting to see the timing of that. So let's get into this week. We have a week full of semi-sextiles, sextiles as well, and conjunctions. There's a lot of energy that is building up towards the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, which is happening next Saturday, or on the 21st of April. I'm filming this on Saturday, the 14th. So we have a lot that's going to push us into really paying attention to the Mercury retrograde. Especially Mercury retrograde is making a lot of connections in different ways this week, and we'll talk about that. Overall, I'm going to list, when I was looking at the chart and noticing all the different things that were happening, I was just like mind blown, in looking at every day. Not only was there energies that were playing out throughout the week or majority of the week, but there were different connections being made that were really potent for reconsideration, Mercury retrograde, for healing possibilities. And I think the overall reasoning for that the universe is lining this up, is to prepare us for the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction. I think there's a reason why things are lining up the way that they are. I say that all the time to everyone I know. The universe is smarter than us, obviously. What I do want to highlight right now is the transits that are going to affect majority of the week, if not the entire week. And that is, Mercury is releasing from its conjunction with Saturn. So if you last week had a lot of frustration, that is going to start to dissipate throughout this week. Venus is approaching a conjunction to the North Node in Aries. Jupiter and Uranus are officially in the same degree at 21 degrees of Taurus. The North Node is making a semi-sextile to Saturn in Pisces. Chiron and Mercury retrograde are semi-sextiling Jupiter and Uranus. And they are also semi-sextiling Mars in Pisces. The Sun in Aries is semi-sextiling Neptune in Pisces, and Jupiter and Uranus are sextiling Mars in Pisces. So that is a lot. That is a lot to have impacting an entire week. I'm not even gonna lie. It is, the semi-sextiles are about understanding where the energies at play between the planets that are making that aspect to each other, they understand each other, which is favorable, obviously. So there's a lot of, favor that the universe is giving to help us have understanding in where we're going, or what the eclipse and the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction are going to bring us. And I do want to preface, I am going to make a separate video on Jupiter and Uranus conjuncting, because that alone is a lot to unpack. It is the biggest astrological event of the year, no doubt. And some people may already see some of the potential that will come of it as they have been getting closer and closer together throughout the month of April so far. But I don't think we're going to, on Saturday, see something suddenly happen. Maybe some people will, if it's conjuncting a natal planet in your chart. You may see something happen on Saturday, but I think this is going to be more impactful for the long term. So I will talk about that in a separate video. Stay tuned for that because I will be making it after this week's video. So on Monday, we're going to start the week with Mercury Retrograde conjuncting Chiron in Aries at 19 degrees. And they're also going to be squaring Ceres in Capricorn. Now, Ceres is an asteroid that's all about nurturing. And, you know, in Capricorn, we're talking about structures. So when you have Mercury Retrograde conjuncting Chiron, for one, we're talking about healing, literally. We're talking about healing. However, words can also be harmful if you're not careful and mindful of how you speak. And when we're making a square, that's a challenging aspect. So, you know, you may be having some potentially healing conversations that may challenge the structures that you're nurturing. So, you know, you may be having a conversation with someone to reconcile some differences that you have. And because of the tension that was previously present between the two of you, this is causing both of you to change your ways or, you know, change perspective in order to reestablish and continue nurturing the structure of your relationship, whether it be a work relationship or, you know, a family relationship, whatever it is. And or this could be reconciling some kind of agreement that was made in order to bring more form and structure to that agreement or whatever it is that you're working on. All right, this isn't necessarily all about relationships because we're talking about Capricorn, so this could be work related, and this could also be just overall, you know, what you're building and nurturing into your long term. Okay. We also see the sun at 26 degrees in Aries making a square to the moon in Cancer. And this is an interesting dynamic because the sun is, you know, happy in Aries and the moon is ruled by Cancer. And so they're both very comfy and in their happy place, but they're making a challenging aspect to each other. So there could be a dynamic where your individual happiness or your identity and your emotions are being challenged, right? You know, you could find that maybe those conversations that you were having needed to be had in order to bring more happiness and, you know, settle whatever disharmony there was, you know. And if we're looking at the flip side of that, that Mercury conjunction happening the same day with Chiron, while the sun is squaring the moon, we could be looking at conversations that are hurtful, that could be causing us some distress or some kind of painful emotion. So just keep an eye out for what transpires, be mindful of the potential energies, and do your best to just stay in a very balanced state during that day, because it could be very tricky. And that plays out, that Mercury conjunction to Chiron will play out for pretty much until Wednesday. So you may see that those conversations, you may need to go back and revisit those conversations as well. On Wednesday, we'll also see Venus officially conjunct the North Node in Aries at 15 degrees. And Venus is going to be pursuing peace and harmony, as well as beauty and creativity, love, finances. And I think this brings a much needed help to those challenging possibilities that I just spoke about, as well as helping you identify what's going to make you happy, right? The North Node is pulling Venus forward to bring her more in line with, when we're talking about Aries, what makes Venus happy, right? We also have Mercury and Chiron making a trine to the moon in Leo that day. And so this is a positive aspect, which is going to basically help us connect to where our emotions are, or where our loyalties are at emotionally, and help bring some healing to a situation, because we're talking about Mercury and Chiron again. And, Leo's all about, loyalty and pride, and is very, they're very family oriented, and very community oriented, right? You think of a lion. And when we're talking, the moon is not comfortable in Leo, by the way. But when we're talking about the moon being in Leo, we are talking about, being loyal to what we feel and what's true for us, right? On Thursday, you're going to see Mercury retrograde conjunct Venus at 17 degrees of Aries, and they will be about 2 degrees away from the North Node. So I look at this as Reconciliation Day. We're talking about Mercury retrograde conjuncting Venus, who wants harmony and peace, and they're very close to the North Node. I do think this is going to be a day where you're meant to reconcile, whether it's related to love, relationships, whether it's reconciling finances. We are in tax season. This is definitely a reconciliation energy. And Mercury and Venus will stay close to each other through the rest of the week until Saturday. So this is going to continue to bring opportunity to negotiate and reconcile whatever it is that is transpiring for you. And then when we get to Saturday, we enter Taurus season officially as the sun ingresses into Taurus. So happy birthday to all the Tauruses out there. And we also have Jupiter conjunct Uranus, and they will be at 21 degrees of Taurus. So take a look at your chart and see where this is playing out for you, and if it's conjuncting any natal planets, because that means that it will be even more impactful than it already will be for everybody. I think this is going to be worldwide impact, this conjunction, to say the least. And we also see Mercury retrograde is backing away from Venus. Venus is moving forward, approaching the North Node. And on Sunday, we're going to see Mercury within 1 degree of the North Node, while Chiron and Venus conjunct at 20 degrees of Aries. And so when Chiron and Venus come together, we can be talking about healing love or wounding love. It all depends on what's happening in your world. But I think with the other energies that I spoke about, especially with, Venus involved in a conjunction to the North Node, I think there's going to be more healing opportunities than wounding opportunities. We are in a time where you know, I mentioned this in a few of my other videos, we're in a time where we're all being pushed to evolve. And so with the energies that are happening this week, there's a lot of focus on Chiron yet again. There's a lot of focus on Venus, on Mercury Retrograde, and the North Node as well. And, you know, overall, when you look at that, it's, you know, we're talking about Mercury Retrograde, who wants us to review things, readdress, you know, something from the past. There could be someone from the past that comes to your awareness, or, you know, comes back around. You know, reviewing agreements that you may have had. It could be with work or finances. And that's been a focal point for the entire month of April, right? Venus coming into Aries and now being added to the mix is bringing a softening to potentially difficult energies, depending on how Chiron is functioning for you. And we're looking at Chiron, you know, that has been hanging around the North Node, forcing everyone to do their healing work. If you haven't been doing it, it's coming, you know, full force in your face now to do it. If you have been doing the healing work, you're basically having a graduation. And so the energy of this week is really, you know, kind of funneling all this to come together as we're having the expansive opportunities that Jupiter and Uranus may, you know, start basically revealing to you. And I think it's important to be aware of that, because obviously everybody wants expansion in their life. They want to progress. They want, you know, opportunities. Everybody wants positive changes, right? And if all it takes is for us to be more self-aware and of what we need to work on within ourselves to, you know, show up better and evolve in whatever ways you need to evolve, then hey, who wouldn't sign up for that? You know, none of us are perfect. I think we're all perfectly imperfect. I think we're all works of art, and, you know, always having things that we can progress and evolve. And this is like the conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus is like a prize, you know, to continue doing that, to keep on evolving, right? So very interesting energy happening this week. Like I mentioned, I will make a separate video on the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Stay tuned for that. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, share your thoughts. I'd love to hear from all of you. I do respond to every comment, and I enjoy hearing, you know, how things are impacting other people, because we are all in this together. This is a journey. So have a great week, and I will be back with more videos.